In today's video, we're going to be installing some meat.
We have the meat
On a 2017 Golf Sportwagen. Yeah, today is a super exciting day for me and the dad wagon because I finally think after weeks and months of searching every wheel and tire website out there, using Photoshop to create mock-ups, and going out to the car to measure fender clearances over and over and over again, I think we finally settled on a set of tires and wheels that really complement and get me to what I wanted to build with this car. Now, we did recently just lower the car with some H&R Sport Springs, but I still wanted this 4Motion wagon to be a very capable dirt road traveler, even when things got a little bit dicey. So my setup's going to be slightly different than what most of you are after. Now, this video isn't just going to be an install of the wheels and tires because that's not all that hard. So we also are going to be installing some mud flaps from Rally Armor and a Racingline Stud Conversion for the Golf Sportwagen as well. So, you ready to see them? You sure? All right, here they are. I really dig them, and I hope you do too. Not bad, right? So what you're looking at there are some 16-inch by 7-inch Sparco Terras, which are actually wheels manufactured by Oz Racing. Next, I mated those up to some Yokohama Geolandar ATs, or all-terrains, at a size of 215/60. That's pretty much the meatiest setup we could get on the GSW in its lowered stance, and so far there hasn't been any clearance or interference issues or anything else that we don't want to generally happen. So let's jump into the install of the Racingline Stud Conversion, as well as the mud flaps, and also the install of the wheels and tires. And at the end, we'll show you some photos of how it all came together. Also, while we're here, don't forget to subscribe. Alright, let's get started with this stud conversion. The first thing I did was grab some brake clean to clean up the hub, made sure there was no rust or corrosion on it, and I also made sure to get some in the holes where the studs will be going to help clean out any debris that might be in there. Then I started preparing 5 of the studs that are going to be mounted, laid them out on a separate cloth, and used a little bit more brake clean to make sure they were as clean as possible. Next, I grabbed one of the studs to be mounted and ran it through each of the holes where a stud would be going to make sure that it would go all the way flush to the hub without any interference. In my mind, this also helped ensure it would push out any excess brake cleaner that was left in those to allow for proper drying before install. Next, I grabbed my torque wrench and got that set to 30 foot-pounds, which is the correct torque spec for these studs. So now it's time to mount the first stud. So I grabbed my thread locker, which in this case, they suggest that you use the permanent thread locker, which is the red version, and coated the portion of the stud that would be going into the hub. Hand tighten that stud in until you can't do that anymore, and then grab your torque wrench and torque it down to 30 foot-pounds. After doing the first stud, it's just a matter of doing the same process to the remaining 4 studs that get mounted into that hub. After torquing each one down individually, you'll notice I went around with the torque wrench again in a circular motion just to make sure that I hit each of the studs and that they were all torqued down to the right spec before giving each of them the proper amount of set time as specified on the thread locker container. While we let that thread locker set, it's the perfect time to install the rear mud flap. So to get started, remove the 2 screws that hold in the fender liner towards the rear of the Golf Sportwagen. Now the instructions that come with the Rally Armor Mudflaps are really good, and they're going to do a better job than me trying to show you exactly how to do it, but I think there's a few things to note that we'll walk you through as we go through here. The construction of these is super customizable and pretty robust, and the bolts really fit well and align well with the stock infrastructure of the Golf Sportwagen. There is some bending that you have to do with the metal mounting brackets, and what you're seeing me do there is check that fitment on the car and make sure the curves are the same as the fender that meet up with the Sportwagen to ensure the best and most aesthetic as well as best mechanical fit in general. Once you have the mud flap mounted to the mounting bracket, it's really just a matter then of using the 2 supplied screws to attach it to your fender and fender liner. Don't forget to use the spacers that come with the kit. I did do that the first time installing this. Obviously, I figured it out after the fact and went back and made sure to do it right the second time. And then the greatest part about these, as you can see me doing here, is you can really adjust how far you want them to stick out from, say, inside the car to outside the car. My personal preference was to mount them as flush to the car as possible. Alright, now it's time to mount the new wheels and the new meaty tires. Now, with these Racingline stud conversions, the thing you'll want to be sure that you get right is they do come in a ball seat and a cone seat. If you're sticking with Volkswagen stock wheels in most cases, you're going to need that ball seat. Almost all aftermarket wheels, like the ones I'm using here, created by Oz for Sparco, use a cone seat nut. Alright, let's jump up to the front hub assembly now and work on the stud conversion here. No change to how we're going to be doing this one. You're still going to be using the red thread locker and a 30 foot-pound torque spec to mount each of these. I repeated the same exact process that I did on the rear. Just like on the rear setup, I used this time that the thread locker needed to set up to install the mud flap on the front. The install for the front mud flap is almost identical to the one on the rear, slightly different shape, a little bit different bracket. There's a little bit of bending that you need to do to get that bracket to form to the inside fender to make sure that the fitment is as flush as possible. The only real difference on the install of the front mud flap versus the rear is that when attaching it to your fender liner, there's no need for a spacer in between your fender and the mud flap. Once you have that front mud flap assembled to the supplied bracket and it's all bent and curved properly to your fender, go ahead and attach it with the supplied hardware to the fender. And then finally, just like on the rear, go ahead and adjust that to your desired setting as far as how far in or how far out you want that mud flap to stick out from the side of your car. Alright, let's go ahead and throw that new wheel and tire onto the front of the car, hand tightening each of the nuts onto the studs. And how easy is that now that no wheel hanger is even needed? Go ahead now and torque each of the wheels as you lower it just slightly to the ground to the appropriate torque specs for your vehicle. Alright, with a little movie magic, we got the driver's side complete as well. So let's pull this bad boy out and take her for a spin and make sure nothing falls off. So as you can see, the install of the Rally Armor Mudflaps is super easy and straightforward. I love the fact that it uses all existing mounting points and there's no drilling or really any additional hardware needed other than what was provided. I think the kit's super robust. I think it's going to work well. I love the little bit of customization you get with how far in or out the mud flaps might be. The only thing I might change with it is I wish that the mounting hardware that they do provide you was black and not silver, since that really sticks out inside the all black wheel well. Now, the Racingline Stud Conversion Kit, I don't have any concerns really there either. It was super easy to install. The product is very, very high quality. I love the way it looks with the wheels. My one concern though is that in the winter time, we live in Michigan, the lug nuts on those are open-ended. I think there might be some corrosion issues, we'll say in the midterm to short term, we'll see. And I will keep you guys posted on kind of how that pans out. Now overall, I'm really happy with how it all turned out. I love the look of the car. I know it's not everyone's flavor, but I think it will be a great cabin wagon for me and my family. And it's still a lot of fun to drive. So thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe, click the notification bell, and as always, leave me your comments down below. I do my best to respond to everybody, and we'll catch you in the next video.